When you're ready, please start and continue.
Thank you for this opportunity, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text number 23. Ekona vimsa vimsati me Vrishneshu prapya janmani Rama Krishna iti bhuvo Bhagavan arad param.
Translation. In the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord adorned himself as Lord Balram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world.
Text 24. Tata kala sampravrite samohaya suradvisam buddho nam nagna sutaha kikatesu bhavishyati.
Then, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist.
Text 25. Atasau yuga sanjayam dasya prayasu rajasu janita vishnu yashaso namna kalki jagatpati.
Thereafter, at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Vyasa. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will be degenerated into Klandans.
Text number 26. Autara hiya sankheya hare sattva nite vijaha yatha vidasina kulyaha sarasaha shu sahasrasaha.
O Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from inexhaustible sources of water.
Text 27. Rasayo manavo deva manuputra mahajasaha kala sarve hare eva saprajapataya smitaha.
All the rishis, Manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu, who are especially powerful, are planetary portions of the planetary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis.
Text 28. Ete chamsha kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indradi Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either portions of the planetary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the taste.
Text 29. Janma Guyam Bhagavato Ya etat prayato naraha Sayam prata grinan bhaktya dukha kramat vimuchyate.
Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life.
Text 30. Etad rupam bhagavato ya rupasya chid atmanaha maya kuner Virachitam Mahadabdibhir Atmani.
The conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord's having form, but faculty, the Lord, faculty, the Lord has no material form.
Text 31. Yatha navasi meghago renurva parthivo nile evam drastare drashyatvam aropitam abuddhivahe.
Clouds and dust are carried by the air, but less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conception on the spirit self.
Text 32. Ataparam yat avyaktam avyuddha guna brimhitam adrasta shruta vastutvat sajivo yat punarbhavaha.
Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety, otherwise he could not have repeated words.
Text 33. Yatreme sad asad rupe pratiside swa samvida avidya yatmani krite iti tad brahma darshanam.
Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord.
Text 34. Yad yesu parata devi maya vaisharadi mati sampana eveti vidu mahimni swe mahiyate.
If the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory.
Text 35. Evam janmani karmani yakartu ajanasya cha varnayanti sma kavayo veda guyane hritpate.
Thus, learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart.
Text 36. Sava idam vasvam amogalila sajati avati atina saje satim bhutesu chantarita atma tantraha sadvargikam jigrati sadgunesaha.
The Lord, whose activities are always spotless, is the master of the six senses and is fully omnipotent with six opulences. He creates the manifested universes, maintains them and annihilates them without being in the least affected. He is within every living being and he is always independent.
Text 37. Nachasya kasya nipunena datu avaiti jantu kumani sauti namani rupani manovachobi santan vato nata charyam ivagnaha.
The foolish with a poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in drama, nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words.
Text 38. Vedadantu padavim parasya duranta viryasya ratanga pane yo mayaya santataya nuvratiya bhajeta tatpada sarojagandam.
Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, who carries the wheel of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence.
Text 39. Ateha dhanya bhagavanta itam yadvasudeve kila lokanathe kurvanti sarvatmakam atma bhavam yayatra bhuya parivarta ugra.
Only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant. For such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstasy, love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes, and guarantee 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death.
Text 40. Idam bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam uttama shloka charitam chakara bhagavan rishi nishreya saya lokasya dhanyam swasti ayanam maha.
This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literally incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
Text 41. Tat itam grahayam asha sutam atmavatam varam sarva vedeti hasanam sharam samudratam.
Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literature and histories of the universe.
Text 42. Satu samsra vayam asha maharajam pariksitam prayo pavishtam gangayam paritam paramarshibhi.
Sukdev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by the sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink.
Text 43. Krishna swadamo pagate dharma gnana divisaha kalavnasta trisham esha puranarko dunoditaha.
This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
Text 44.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I was asked to recite text 44 today.
We are now on text 44.
Sorry,
Yes,
who is this, please?
it's Priya Kumari.
That's tomorrow, Mataji.
All right, I see. Okay. Sorry, my apologies. Sorry, carry on. Yes.
Okay, text 44. Tatra kirtayato vipra viprasir buri tejasaha chadya gamam tatra nivistastat anugraha soham va shrava yashyami yathaditam yathamati.
All learned Brahmanas, when Sukdev Goswami recited Bhagavatam, and there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus, by his mercy, I learned the Bhagavatam from that
Great sage.
great sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learn it from him as I have realized it.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu and Prema Vilasini Mataji, for your wonderful translation and reading of the Sanskrit. So, dear devotees, Hare Krishna. For those who have just joined us, today we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, which is entitled Creation. No, the question. Oh, sorry. Canto number 1, chapter number 3, entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And today we are doing text number 42. So before that, we'll recite the Mangala Charanam praise. You can also join me. The unmuted mics, please. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Astacha Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So let me just get the verse up again. Krishna. Yes, so this last part of chapter number 3 of the first canto is about the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we shall explain how this verse is a glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. We shall discuss a bit later. Satu sam shravayam asha maharajam parikshitam prayopa vishtam gangayam paritam parama rishibi. Synonyms word for word. Sa, the son of Vyasadeva. 2, again, Sham, Shravayam, Asha, make them audible. Maharajam, unto the emperor. Parikshitam, of the name Parikshit. Praya Upavishtam, who sat until death without food or drink. Gangayam, on the bank of the Ganges. Paritam, being surrounded. Parama Rishibi, by great sages. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Purport. All transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless, therefore, Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered the message to Shukdev Goswami, and from Shukdev Goswami, Suta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down on the bank of the Ganges to fast till death. All great rishis, all great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty. And at last it was settled that he would hear from Shukdev Goswami about Lord Krishna. Thus the Bhagavatam was spoken. Shripad Shankara Acharya, who preached Mayavad philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, for there is no hope of gain from debating. Indirectly, Shripad Shankara Acharya admitted that what he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretations of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is the recommendation of all transcendentalists. Shukadev Goswami at long ago stated the same truth, that at the end one must remember Narayan. That is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by the able Shukadev Goswami, and both the speaker and the receiver of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. So the verse again, Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. So, a couple of important points. in the previous verse, it is explained that Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized. His son is Shukadeva Goswami, and Shukadeva Goswami, in turn, delivered it to the great emperor Parikshit. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada states that these verses, they explain that how Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam we are receiving, this verse is being spoken by Sutta Goswami. It was received in Parampara. So we understand that Vyasadeva had a guru. His guru was Narad Muni. Narad Muni, he had received a spiritual knowledge from his guru and father, who was Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma had received it from Lord Krishna. So this Bhagavatam that we are receiving, it's being received in Parampara. This very verse is being spoken by Sutta Goswami. And Sutta Goswami, he sat in the assembly and he heard it directly from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami, being in the assembly. The principle of Parampara is integral to the receipt of spiritual knowledge. Anything that's not received in Parampara, one cannot take very seriously. Once during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, many followers of a reputed saint, a devotee of Lord Ram, they would come to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and they would inform Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur about this great devotee that they have met. What a great devotee of Lord Ram is. And they would implore Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to come and meet this great devotee of the Lord. So having received repeated and numerous requests to meet this great devotee of Lord Ram, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, before I go, can you please ask him one question on my behalf? Can you ask him through whom does his devotion of Lord Ram flow? Through and from. Can you ask him this one question? So these followers, who were very enamored by this great devotee, they went to him and said, one Goswami Maharaj, Siddhanta Saraswati, has asked us to ask you one question. Through whom does your devotion of Lord Ram flow through? And the devotee said, what type of question is that? My devotion to Lord Ram, it doesn't flow through anyone. It comes directly from Lord Ram to me. They said, okay, we shall convey your response to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So they went to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and they conveyed the response they received. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, thank you very much, but I am not so much interested in meeting this great devotee of Lord Ram. The point being here is that spiritual knowledge, bhakti, flows through the parampara. We should receive it in parampara. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point about Bhagavatam. We understand that there are 64 items of devotional service. And of those 64 items, 5 are particularly potent. Chanting the holy name, associating with devotees, worshipping the deity, residing in holy places, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Bhagavatam, for us to experience the potency of this Bhagavatam, it must be received in parampara. Srila Prabhupada was quite vocal about devotees going to listen to professional reciters who made a living out of reciting Bhagavatam, who had not received Bhagavatam in any particular, through any particular parampara. Srila Prabhupada said that that is not very powerful, that is not very potent. But when one receives the Bhagavatam from the lips, from the mouth of someone who has received it in parampara, that message of the Bhagavatam is very, very potent. It is a mysterious science, but that is the science to receive spiritual knowledge. It has to come, it has to flow through the proper medium. And this Bhagavatam, we know, Maharaj Parikshit, he received it from Shukdev Goswami. And Shukdev Goswami, when he spoke it, it was received by Sutta Goswami. And the same Bhagavatam was passed down from spiritual master to disciple to spiritual master to disciple. And we are receiving it, this purport we are receiving from Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is coming in that disciplic succession. It is said that Vyasadeva once met Madhvacharya. We come in the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya. So this is a very, very important principle, which we should become very serious about. If we hear some big Bhagavad Katha going on, we see some advertisement for some big Bhagavad Katha, we should make some inquiry about the speaker. What is the background from the speaker? Who is the speaker's guru? What lineage are they coming from? What's parampara? And if they are coming from a bona fide parampara, then yes, we can listen. And we can be confident that there will be a special potency by receiving it through that medium. The second important point about this verse is, as I mentioned, this verse, it is being spoken in the section of this chapter, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So how is this verse glorifying the Bhagavatam? So we know in the Vedic tradition, there are many Puranas, and throughout these Puranas, we see that there are different conversations that take place between different personalities. Like in the Devi Purana, there's some conversations between two individuals. One, I forget the name, one individual is very destitute, suffering, coming from not a very cultured background. And he speaks and makes some inquiries, and there's some exchange between personalities, a guru or a spiritualist explaining it to the inquirer. But in the Bhagavatam, what's so special about the Bhagavatam, and this is mentioned by Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami, he explains in his Sandarbhas, and he evidences why out of all of the literature, Srimad Bhagavatam is topmost. And one of the reasons he gives why Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost of literature, it is because of the caliber of the speaker and the listener. Shukadev Goswami was a completely liberated soul. He was a Rasika Bhakta, one who had tasted, he was a connoisseur of the Bhagavatam. Nigama kalpataro kalitam phalam shuka mukar amrita drava samyita pibata bhagavatam rasamayalam muhur hahur rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. Bhavakaha, one who is a connoisseur of the Bhagavatam. And this Bhagavatam, having come from the lips of Shukadev Goswami, it is even more relishable. It is said that a mango, when a mango is touched by the beak of a parrot, it is said that that mango becomes even more sweet, more relishable. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, having been touched by the lips of Srila Shukadev Goswami, it has become even more tasteful, more relishable. In fact, it is explained that in the assembly, when Maharaj Parikshit was receiving the Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami, there was sat Sri Narad Muni, Srila Vyasadeva also. Srila Narad Muni, he had heard Bhagavatam many times. Srila Vyasadeva had heard Bhagavatam and he had recited it. But it is said that when they were hearing Shukadev Goswami reciting the Bhagavatam, they were feeling like they've never heard it before. The way Shukadev Goswami was reciting it, they were just enthralled. And they were just drinking in the nectar, thinking, how is it that we are feeling this Bhagavatam even more tasteful than we ever felt it before? So Shukadev Goswami, he was the topmost transcendental, a complete Rasika. And Maharaj Parikshit, he was a great devotee from birth. Even before he was born, even while in the womb of his mother, which will be described in later chapters of the first canto, he saw the Lord even while he was within the womb. So he saw the Lord and then the Lord disappeared. And then from that moment, the moment he came out of the womb, whoever he saw, he would look and he would observe them. And he would think, was this the person I saw in the womb? That extraordinarily beautiful, attractive personality? And because he would always be looking in this way, he got the name Parikshit. And he was the great grandson of Arjuna. He was a devotee from birth. He was the greatest listener. So in the Bhagavatam, we have the greatest speaker and we have the greatest listener. And when the greatest speaker and the greatest listener come together, we can only imagine the caliber of that conversation. It's going to be of the highest degree, the highest platform. And this is why Srila Jiva Goswami, this is one of the reasons he gives, that the Bhagavatam, we will not find if we go and analyze the Vedic scriptures. We analyze the different teachers and the different students. You would not find a greater teacher and a greater student than Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami. They are such extraordinary character. So just a few other important, very important points. The one interesting part of this verse is what Maharaj Parikshit is described as not taking any food or drink. So in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, there's one very, very interesting verse. I don't know if I have it right here in front of me. Anyway, I'll give you the reference a bit later. Maharaj Parikshit says, because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet because I am drinking the nectar of topics about Krishna, which is flowing from the lotus mouth of your lordship, my hunger and thirst, which are extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. So this Friday, coming Friday, is going to be Pandav Nirjala Ekadasi. It is the one Nirjala Ekadasi where the devotees observe complete fast, Nirjal, not even water. And many of us, when we think of Nirjala Ekadasi, it is like no other austerity. The urge to drink and the urge to taste is such a strong, powerful urge. It is very difficult to tolerate this urge to drink and eat. Therefore, it is a big austerity for many of us. But Parikshit Maharaj said, for 7 days he did this. He said that because he was drinking the topics about Lord Krishna, which were coming from the lotus mouth of Shukadev Goswami, the hunger and thirst that one, which is very, he says, extremely difficult to bear, it didn't hinder him in the least bit. So what we can take instruction from this, especially for our forthcoming Nirjala Ekadasi, if we hear the messages of Lord Krishna, if we hear them from the right source, and we hear them with the right mood, then the hindrances, the pushing and the pulling of hunger and thirst will not bother us so much. Also in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about the essence of all spiritual activities. Prabhupada says, this is the essence of all spiritual activities. And what is that essence? The essence is, Prabhupada says here, at the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. And one must remember Narayan. Ante Narayana Smriti. This is the whole purpose of the human form of life. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whoever at the time of death, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, remembers me, to that state he will attain without fail. That state meaning he will return to Krishna's abode. So the whole perfection, life's final exam for all of us, the final test, the passing criteria is for us to remember Krishna at the time of death. This is the essence of all spiritual activities, all the spiritual practices we have done throughout our life. Everything we've done, it will be put to test at the time of death. And if those spiritual activities can lead us to remember Krishna, to chant Krishna's name, then all our spiritual activities have reached the pinnacle of success at that point in time. We should and we must be able to remember Krishna. That is the real test. That is the real test. And one who is practiced their whole life, if we have practiced our whole life, remembering Krishna, dedicating our lives to Krishna, then we can be almost assured we will think of Krishna. But if we have not practiced well, we have chanted broken names, we have not been fixed in our meditation, then that will not be so easy. So it is said here that Parikshit Maharaj, he had heard with full and rapt attention. And when the snake bird came for him, he was not at all disturbed. He was able to focus his mind completely on Krishna. And that is because he had heard from the right authority, Shukadev Goswami. Prabhupada used to give one story. I won't mention names, but there was a famous guru, very famous in the Hindu tradition. Once he was asked to bless his disciple. He placed his hand on the disciple's head and he was like transmitting that knowledge. And after he had transmitted the knowledge, he felt weak and he was crying. He started to cry. So someone asked him, why are you crying, Gurudev? He said, now I have passed my knowledge into my disciple and I am feeling bereft. And Prabhupada said, spiritual life is not like that. When the Guru transmits knowledge, pure spiritual knowledge to the disciple, the Guru feels enlivened spiritually and the disciple feels enlivened spiritually. It's not that one becomes bereft. 1 minus 1 equals 1 in genuine spiritual life. And we see it here, Shukadev Goswami, he was becoming so enlivened by Maharaj Parikshit's questions. And Maharaj Parikshit, he heard the answer and he was becoming more enlightened. That is the test of one receiving genuine spiritual life. The speaker becomes enlivened and the listeners become enlivened. That is the genuine transmission of spiritual knowledge. So I'll stop here. I'll take any questions, comments, or reflections that anyone has.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Is that Jolly Mataji?
No, it's Pramila.
Oh, Pramila Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this Ekadasi on Friday, is this the one that's once a year if you made any mistakes with your Ekadasi fasting, that you observe the Nirjal one this Friday?
That's correct, Mataji, yes.
Oh, good. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Puja Mataji.
It's a bit of a silly question, excuse me for that. But it says Sukdev Goswami was devotee right from the birth. I know he's a unique, but I don't understand how somebody can be a devotee from the birth when you are just a baby.
How you can be a devotee from birth?
When you are just a baby, yes.
Okay. Well, we understand that the moment we take birth, we are coming from a previous situation. Yes.
Yes.
So there are different devotees. You get Nitya Siddhas, that means eternally liberated souls.
Mhm.
And you get Nitya Baddhas. Or you also get Sadhana Siddhas. That means some people who have become perfected through sadhana. So firstly, they are eternally liberated souls. They are perfected devotees. They simply appear for a purpose. And the purpose is to transmit spiritual knowledge. So they do not take birth like if we take birth, we are born into ignorance.
Yes.
Because, we are not spiritually enlightened. But they are souls, they are enlightened even while they are in the womb. There are some souls like that. And, there are some souls that come, like Srila Prabhupada. He was a devotee from birth, right? So that bhakti is there, but they may not display the full extent of their bhakti from the very beginning. They may, that bhakti will be kept hidden as time develops, depending on the mission that they have come for, then they will exhibit the extent of their bhakti. But the soul, the liberated soul, you know, they can be a devotee even within the womb. Some of us, like Prabhupada was once sitting in assembly of his disciples, and he said, some of y'all are eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya. And some of y'all are recipients of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So the soul, yeah, although it can be in the womb, it cannot be covered. It cannot be covered. So Shukadev Goswami was one such soul.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Nice question. Thank you.
Very nice answer.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or reflections? Okay, there's none. Okay, there's a question, something, a comment came in the chat. Hare Krishna. Why was Shukadev Goswami asked to speak in front of Vyasadeva and Narad Muni? Normally in Vedic culture, one does not speak in front of seniors. That is a good question, Nandarani Mataji. So we understand that this Bhagavatam, it was arranged by Lord Krishna to be spoken. And Lord Krishna desired who to be the speaker and who to be the listener. Srila Vyasadeva and Narad Muni, one is Guru and one is Param Guru, they were in the audience. So there is the etiquette, and then there's the ultimate etiquette. The ultimate etiquette is the desire of the Lord. That trumps even the ordinary etiquette. Lord Krishna's, that's the desire. The devotees are there simply to execute the desire of the Lord. So that seat was vacant when Maharaj Parikshit sat down. And Srila Vyasadeva and Narad Muni, they were all sat there before. They were not feeling the inclination to occupy that seat. When Shukadev Goswami appeared, everyone just naturally felt that Vyasa-san was waiting for Shukadev Goswami to sit on. Because that was the desire of Lord Krishna, for Shukadev Goswami to speak to Maharaj Parikshit. So Narad Muni, Srila Vyasadeva, they felt no transgression of the etiquette. They were comfortable, extremely comfortable and happy for Shukadev Goswami to sit there, because in their hearts, they felt that was the desire of Lord Krishna. That was the desire of Lord Krishna, and that's what matters the most. That was the matter the most. So although they were senior, as you have rightfully pointed out, it's the desire of Lord Krishna, which is the ultimate etiquette to execute that desire. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, Mataji, or you have any further points you'd like to make? Hare Krishna. Sailesh Prabhu, you have your hand raised.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for a very, very nectarian class, as always. You take us there onto the banks of the Ganga. So thank you. It was very, very nectarian. Just to elaborate a little more on your very, very eloquent answer there. Of course, there was no break in etiquette either, because in real terms, Sukadeva Goswami is Radharani's parrot. So he trumps them all. in terms of personal association and personal witnessing of all of these pastimes. So there's no break in etiquette any case.
Yes, nice point, Prabhu. He was supremely qualified to speak. Thank you for that
Hare
comment.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just want to ask one question.
Sure.
In a spiritual world, how did the animals get there, like parrot and Surabhi cow? And I mean, normally we think that to go to spiritual planet, we have to transcend ourselves from this bodily concept. But then you see animals up there as well. How did they get there?
Okay. See, we normally have the tendency to see things from our perspective. So when a living entity takes an animal body, that body is according to the modes of nature, and that is a covering, a coat. In the spiritual world, the animals, they are liberated, eternal associates of the Lord. They don't have a temporary body. Here, the animal body is like a coat. It's like a coat. So in the spiritual world, it's full of variety, variegatedness. Everything in the spiritual world is for Krishna's pleasure. The Surabhi cows, the Kalpavriksha trees, the rabbits, the monkeys, they are not like the animals of the material world, covered by certain modes of nature, not being able to understand. They are on the transcendental platform. So these animals, they are there for Krishna's pleasure. They interact with Krishna, and they're not like the animals of the material world. They are transcendent. They have spiritual bodies. The cows, Surabhi cows, have spiritual bodies. The Kalpavriksha trees, they are spiritual. The nature of everything in the spiritual world is spiritual. Even the blade of grass in the spiritual world is millions and millions and millions and millions times more advanced than we are. More advanced than we are, because they are completely spiritual, completely situated in the Swarup, eternal spiritual situation. And we cannot see them in terms of how the material world is. Those are all spiritual living entities. Spiritual.
Okay. So, Prabhu, the material world is a reflection of spiritual world, yeah?
Yes.
So do I understand?
Perverted reflection.
Yeah, perverted.
Yeah.
So whatever is here in material world will be in spiritual world, but it will be like here is perverted, over there is pure love of Krishna.
Yes, that's true. It's real.
Okay, okay. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu.
Beautiful class and session. Thank you so much. Yeah, the last paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes what is the duty of one who is about to die. And he clearly says the name of Govinda should be heard and repeated. And Srimad Bhagavatam is all about Govindas and his multifarious incarnations. So, yes, we all have a great opportunity to recommend Srimad Bhagavatam to friends, relatives, comrades, colleagues, man in the street, woman in the street, everyone. So it is so wonderful. Yes, so everyone can take that opportunity to give it out to others so that they may benefit like Sukdev Goswami and go back and play with Krishna.
True. Thank you. Thank you for that. There's one request from Divyanam Prabhu. His Vrindarika Ramaya Prabhu Mataji's father is very ill. he's taken a turn for the worst. Divyanam Prabhu called me before class and he said, if I could please request the devotees to pray for him, that whatever his situation, that he will be able to remember Krishna and he can surrender to Krishna. So please, dear devotees, keep him in your prayers. And as Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu says, the best way to show our love is to spread the glories of Lord Krishna. And there's no better book than Srimad Bhagavatam. We have got a big mission to distribute 600 sets of Bhagavatam. Whatever you can do, whoever you meet, if you can tell them, please do that, dear devotees. That'll be a great service. I wanted to mention something about Prabhupada speaking about Shankaracharya, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda. I didn't have time for that, but the essence is, even the Mayavadis, if they do not accept anyone else, but they accept Shankaracharya, they should accept the final instruction of Shankaracharya, which was, you fools, please remember Govinda at the time of death. Please remember, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudamate, Prapte Sanihiti Kale Marane. That just remember Govinda at the time of death. Hare Krishna, all glories to your service, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanchakal Paturabhyascha Kripasinabhi Patitanam Pavani Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nice. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
It's
Prabhuji.
grace.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji, beautiful class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.